What if I told you that chasing a thoughtless mind is your real problem? That you don't actually need fewer freaking thoughts, that you need fewer beliefs hooked to those thoughts. So here's how to sever the invisible cord and finally find the peace that I know you're looking for. There's this really common misconception that you need to get rid of your thoughts, and it is so freaking frustrating and it's dangerous. In this idea in this world of personal development, spiritual development, wherever you're at, this golden carrot of chasing being thoughtless is such a major distraction and it's a disruptor. And we do this because it's like we think that our thoughts are the problem, right? Because you have these like thought storms, these spirals, these different, like it's just chaos up there. And so we think if I could just get rid of those thoughts, then I would be at peace, then I wouldn't have any problems and I wouldn't be disrupted. But the chasing of the removing is the actual problem. So, what do I mean by that? Because I know that you can relate to this. I know you have like shitstorm thoughts and spirals and all these things. And you think, if I just didn't think this anymore. No, you don't just need to not think it anymore. You need to not believe it. That's the key. That's the golden nugget. That's what you're looking for. You need to not believe your thoughts. You need to not attach to them. You need to not associate your identity with those thoughts. And when you stop doing that, that's when everything changes. That's when you're at peace. You don't need to be thoughtless to be at peace. That is not how this works. You need to change your relationship with the thoughts. You need to understand the identity and the beliefs and the paradigms and the structures that you've built in your internal system that actually attach to those thoughts that make you think, oh my gosh. And I was just telling a client this because she was telling me how much this landed with her when I've talked about it before. And then she read it in my book. And it was something that really stood out because it was such a huge relief because we chase so much just being thoughtless or not having these thoughts, and it's like, oh, we don't have to do that. We can just be at peace now even with these crazy thoughts. And what I was telling her was this idea, like, okay, I know you've had a crazy thought. You think about this for yourself too, like the craziest, most bizarre thought that came through your mind, and you thought, God, that was crazy, and you just moved on from it. There was no belief structure associated with that thought. So it just wasn't sticky. It didn't stay. And so you were able to move on. It wasn't a big deal. Now, if you think something that you really have believed about yourself and you built an entire structure around it, and that comes through your mind, oh my God, the frustration, the thought cycles, the spirals, everything else, every thought that was associated with that thought and associated with that thought and associated with that thought. Oh my God, now it's exhausting. Now that all comes up to the surface. Now, when we sever that attachment, we sever the piece that says, yes, that's true. Yes, that's me. Yes, this thought means something. When we sever that invisible cord, we've just created our freedom. Now, how do we do that? Well, okay, Kayla, that sounds lovely. And it reminds me of, whenever you would listen to like a meditation or you hear someone speak and they would be like, think about your thoughts as clouds floating through your sky, which sounds so beautiful. But I can remember thinking, why the fuck do I have so many clouds? Like, why is it just like cloud after cloud after cloud? And so then trying to like look at it that way, it was too like fluffy for me. It just didn't work and land for me. So this is for the people who need a little bit more of like the real world, like really like to relate to what's happening in our mind. And so instead of thinking about our thoughts as clouds, which then objectifies them and then puts them in a different space, and then that's a whole nother thing, we just think of them what they are. Oh, that's interesting. I think that. And I've told this story before, but it is, to me, it's one of my favorite ways to tell it. Is I always had this belief that I wasn't smart enough, good enough, capable enough. So when I first started coaching, I was always waiting for somebody to find out that I wasn't who I said I was, or I wasn't as good as I was. And I was working for a company and I was like rising to the top coach. And I became a trainer, and I still felt like, oh my God, they're going to find out that I'm not good enough. Like waiting for the email to fire me. It was just bananas, right? We all have those thoughts. Guess what? Those are thoughts. And I attach beliefs and paradigms to them. Do you understand the connection? Do you see what I'm saying? Do you understand how this works? So I had these thoughts and I had these attachments to the thoughts. And when I actually started to sever that attachment, when I started to realize that is simply a thought, I don't have to actually feel anything or react any way or believe this anymore, because I am good enough. I am capable enough. I am skilled. I am doing those things. I can actually take the validation that I have, just not from the external world, but from myself, and I can actually believe it. And so then that thought got severed and severed and severed and severed, and that cord no longer was attached. So then fast forward ways later, I ended up having more recently, within the beginning of this year, I had this, conversation with somebody, and I had to then display my skills. And it was like a long process. I was going to have to be evaluated like 8 calls, which is about 8 hours, and set for this like big interview. And the first thought was, oh my God, they're going to find out that I'm not as good as I say I am. And I thought, oh, wow, that's so interesting that that thought just flitted through my brain, but there was no belief structure to uphold it. There was no attachment. There was no invisible string. There was nothing saying, yes, Kayla, you suck. They're going to find that out. I didn't believe that anymore. And so that's why I'm telling you, you don't have to get rid of the thoughts. You have to work on the beliefs that you have that support those thoughts. You have to change the paradigm in which you're creating your reality from. That's the work we're talking about. That's what you get to do. But you can't do that if you're just trying to push thoughts outside of your head. You have to come back to this idea and this belief of, oh my gosh, I get to use the world as my mirror to tell me and to show me where I still have these belief paradigms that are no longer supporting me. What a beautiful freaking journey you get to go on. You get to do this, you get to explore it. Then it doesn't become a problem. It's not frustration of, oh my God, why do I still think this? No, it's just, oh, look, there it is. What am I making it mean about me? What belief is that attached to? Is it a belief that I still believe and that I need to work on, that I need to actually increase my level of self trust or my level of confidence, or my level of belief, or whatever it is in yourself? Do I need to do that? Do you need to go down that road? Or, oh my gosh, it's not even there anymore. I don't even believe that. I don't even have anything work to do except for just, ooh, that doesn't mean anything anymore. Cord severed over and over and over again. And you're going to find this happening often. And so when you look at this journey as not being something that's like frustrating, like, oh my God, I keep having to do this. It's like, okay, look, there's another one. And then it becomes less and less and less. And now all of a sudden you're really free. All of those strings that you have, all those attachments that were attaching you to these thoughts and these beliefs that like came into your body felt a reaction to your thought. It's no longer there. Thoughts just come, a feeling just arises, and it doesn't generate a thought. It's just a feeling. They don't mean the same things that it did before. This is the work. This is how you get deeper into this. This is what I teach you to do in my course, Emotionally Unstoppable. It's an audio course that walks you through all of those. Highly encourage you to dive into that if that's something that you're working on for yourself, or you can just keep watching these videos. Something that you need to be working on is this detachment from the thoughts. So that's what I want you to focus on today. I want you to actually look at, what do I make these thoughts mean about me? What beliefs and paradigms are they originating from? And what can I do to change it? Let me know what resonated in this video. Drop it below. I love hearing from you, what questions come up, and I'll see you next time.